Now then, so today we're going to go over the new cards that have been revealed over the past few days for the new Chronicles set. So I think in general, I'm pretty happy with what I've seen. Obviously, there's some cards that I think they're not that good. But I think there's been a lot of cards that reinvigorate some old archetypes and are exactly what they needed. And I'm pretty happy with them. I don't think there's any I've really looked at and thought this is insanely broken and is gonna ruin the game. I think there's very strong cards in there, but nothing Renfrey kind of level. So yeah, we'll go over them, and so the way I'll do it is I'll give them like a sort of 1 to 5 star rating of how good I think they are. 5 star is that borderline kind of auto include. Obviously these will be very much how good they are in their like archetype, and that kind of thing, and I'll give like my thoughts on it, and then we can come back to this in a couple of weeks and laugh at how horribly wrong I was about all of this. So we have tons of cards to cover, so I will go straight into it. So we will start off with Northern Realms, and first card is Reaver Scout. So this is 2 power. Order spawn and play a base copy of an allied bronze soldier, excluding self. And honestly, I don't think this is too amazing. I think it's just a bit too easy to deal with. 2 power, 1 armor for a relatively low payoff. I mean, there's not that many bronze allied soldiers where I'd really be like really happy about getting a copy of and think, yeah, I've got a good payoff from this. You could maybe use this in something like Blue Stripes and look to get a second scout to put another blue stripe in. But at that point it's then playing for like 10, but it has to survive. I'm really not a fan of this, so I think this is like a 2 star card. Maybe I'm missing an interaction where this is insane, but I think it's too easy to deal with, way too easy to deal with. And sort of similar for Reaver Hunters. Spawn and play a base copy of self on this row, set his base power to 1 less. Bonded at the end of the turn, damage the highest power enemy by 1. Just not good enough, you know what I mean? This is basically a 5 provision card that can be 2 points a turn if it survives, but I mean it's basically a 4 power 4 power engine that then spawns a 3 power engine, and I just think that's a little bit too easy to deal with. Obviously in a very value kind of matchup where there's very limited stuff in the way of response from your opponent, maybe you could get some value from this. So I think it's slightly better than the Reaver Scout, but I don't think by a lot. So honestly, I think this is another 2 star. Yeah, the NR cards did not fill me with confidence to start off. Really not a huge fan of these. And again, could be wrong, but we shall see. So then we have Kennet and Gar. This is order, destroy an enemy unit with 2 or less power. Whenever you spawn a soldier, increase the by 1. And I mean, I think this one's slightly better. The base power of 6 with formation. The worst you can do is play it on the range for it's like a 7. If it survives, kill a 2. It's playing for 9. I mean, that's not amazing, but fine. You could run something like Ronvid, for example, and so playing this will just play out, which then means it destroys a 3. So I guess it's okay. But I think realistically, I think in general these NR cards fit the best with something like Revenants. Basically, Revenants is where these cards would shine. But the problem is Revenants aren't very good. So that's the kind of problem there is there. The very good the cards that synergize with an archetype that they're not going to fix. These cards aren't good enough to make the archetype good. I think this is slightly better because it's more durable. At 6, you're going to get your value. It's a piece of removal. Removal has a fair bit of value, and I mean, I guess if you synergize it a little bit, you can get that, increase the limit kind of thing up a bit. So it's not as bad. So I'll give this one like 3 stars. And then we have Boholt and his formation. Order spawn a base copy of an allied bronze soldier. Whenever you spawn a soldier, boost self by 2. And again, this is sort of similar with those, where this works very nice if you could spam out Reaver Hunters, basically. I think that's generally what you'd be looking to do with this. Get your Reaver Hunter down, get 2, you then spawn a copy of itself, which would then, they're each dealing 1 damage a turn, so it's like 3 damage a turn. But it's so slow to get going. You know what I mean? It's 2 power, and whenever you spawn a unit, spawn a soldier, boost self by 2. Seems like it would be okay. But you're paying 12 provisions, and from this card, you're probably wanting to get him up to 8 minimum, 8, 10, to actually be happy about the value. So I think this is at the same kind of point I'd put like Kennet and Gar, where if you can get a Reaver spam going, or you can get like Revenants going, then sure, this is maybe going to get a bit of value. But the problem will always be row space. You can only play 18 cards, and you're going to need cards to set up as well. I'm not going to get all of those spawns, and it's a very easy combo to interrupt. So I think it requires way too much of like small miracles happening to actually get the value you look for. So I think this is another like 3 star. I'm maybe being generous giving it 3. But I mean, I'm gonna say no. Honestly, I think it's a 2. I think it's a 2. Kennet and I don't think this is as good as Kennet and Gar. Especially when it's 12. This is very expensive. Compare this to other 12s. This is like the price of like a scenario or like Renfrey. So you can't compare this card to them, unfortunately. So yeah, I think this is a 2. Sorry to start a bit of a downer, but the NR cards did not fill me with any confidence whatsoever. Now we come on to Nilfgaard, and some of these I felt a bit better about. So we'll start off with Night Challenger, which is a 5 power for 4, game vitality equals the amount of boost on an enemy unit has, and this will seem a little so-so, but there's other cards in the deck that kind of synergize with boosting stuff, and I don't think this is terrible, especially when it's Grace 8, boost all units by 1. Pretty decent. Now obviously in a vacuum, this seems like very conditional, but you run things like Tortoise, Nilfgaardian Knights, some of the new cards which also boosted enemy units, and especially when you compare this to something like Yen, for example, Yen, who will boost all units by 2, like 99% of the time what it's used for. This is a 4 provision card that functionally is going to do the same for you, so I think there's definite value here. I'm going to give this a 4 star, and I mean this is dependent on the archetype working. If the whole boosting your enemy units kind of stuff doesn't work out, then obviously this is not as good. I don't think you're playing this in other archetypes. I think this is a very like archetype specific kind of card. But yeah, I'm gonna give it 4 star. It seems decent. Then we're on to Behet. I think that's how you pronounce it. Boost enemy unit by 3, then an allied unit by 9. So this is kind of similar to Mardrum. but you're boosting enemy units rather than damaging your own. It's a 4 provision tactic, which already is decent, and I honestly think this is very, very good. Very, very good. Like, I'm just gonna straight on say it's a 5-star card. Very, very good. Functionally, this is 9 for 4 because boosting an enemy unit by 3 as Nilfgaard is not a problem. Not a problem in the slightest. You would be running this in the kind of deck that's going to run something like Ivar, cards, and I mean the amount of tall removal that Nilfgaard has is ludicrous. So you don't care how tall units get. You boost an enemy unit that's like 8, for example, by 3. You're gonna kill that 8 anyway. Killing it as an 11 is just as easy for Nilfgaard. It's not like they get their removal damage. It comes from statuses and just hard removal cards like Yenver. So boosting an enemy unit by 3, consequential. So this is just a 9 for 4. So yeah, honestly, I think this is very, very good. Very, very good. So then we're on to Guillaume de Launfal, and his deploy is boost self and an enemy unit by half of their combined power. And as an order, Grace 14, move all statuses from an enemy unit to self. Honestly, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Boost self and an enemy unit by half of their combined power. This is a 6, so you want to boost them by 8, or a fair amount, basically. So you could boost him by say you pick another 6, boost him up to 12, boost an opponent card up to 12. You're gonna remove a 12, so that's not a problem. But the order is what really got me interested to start off with. So at first I was like, that's kind of not good. Moving on statuses, a lot of the time, statuses are rarely beneficial. But then I was like, hang on a minute. Cyrenova. Things like Cyrenova. This can steal resilience, this can steal defender, this can veil. So I think it's pretty good. I do think this is really good. I think it's going to be matchup dependent how good the order is, which is my main concern. But I think even if you don't get value off the order, kind of good enough, because similar to what I was saying with the hurt and everything, boosting an enemy unit is functionally inconsequential for Nilfgaard. You're not going to play this as like your absolute first card. They play one card, you play this straight away. You're going to wait a bit. They play something where you're like, okay, I want to remove that before the end of the round. You boost it up by, you give it 6, 7 power, whatever, and then you just remove it further down the road and you don't care. So I think this is another 4-star. I don't think this is as good as Bahert, because I think Bahert is just objectively very good. Just very, very good. But yeah, I think this is a 4-star card, Realistically, even if you pick like a 4 power card, this is getting boosted 11. An 11 for 8. Pretty good. Sort of non-requirement 11 for 8, which would be a kind of low roll for this, is very good. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the Nilfgaard ones. And then we sort of finish off on semi-downside of Buckler, which is interesting, definitely interesting. Set an allied unit's power to match the highest power enemy unit, and the order is set the power of the unit. So this is kind of your payoff for boosting enemy units, in effect. This is kind of what I was alluding to with the whole you're boosting enemy units, but you don't care because further down the line you're going to get your benefit from it. It's how much. It's not that I don't think this is good, because I think this is good. You get your payoff for all the other stuff. You play things like Golem, Bahert, even just Golem and Bahert. Let's say you hit a 8 power unit, you've given it 6 power, and then 7 power, you've given it 13 power. Then the order is going to reset a unit, and you can set one of your relatively small units to like So I'm taking like Cyrenova in my head as an example. You can boost Cyrenova all the way up to like 21. Set one of your units to 21. Set her back to 8. You know, that's a lot of points. That's a lot of points. It's just how relevant I think this is. You know what I mean? Northgard already has huge amounts of removal, and boost on units is functionally irrelevant when you can run things like Vincent, Ivar, Yenver, a million poison. You know that you get to the point where it's like, is it even worth having another tour removal? And I mean, I'm leaning towards thinking it probably is. I think this is that good that I think it justifies a spot. So I think this is one where it's. I mean, I'm torn between 4 and 5 stars, honestly, on this. I think it's very good. I'm gonna go with 4 because I'm being tentative. 4 star because if I compare it to Bahert, for example, I think Bahert is just an auto include kind of card. Beauclair is very, very good, but whether it's the most important thing, the provision cost as well. 13 provisions means this is a centerpiece kind of card. So yeah, I think 4 star. So yeah, definitely overall these cards for sure gave me more interest than NR. And also not to forget as well, cards like Kahir exist. You know, you put Kahir in here, and all of these cards, like Gilem, Bahert, Night Challenger, Nilfgaardian Knight, Ortus, all of a sudden the points stack up. The points definitely stack up. So I think there's definitely potential there. And provided Erden doesn't worm his way into the meta to be an auto include, you think you're gonna get a lot of value from a deck like this. Now for Scoia'tael, we actually got a new type of card, which is a Naiad, and we'll start with Naiad Fledgling. So this is whenever Symbiosis is triggered, give the unit to the left Vitality 2, and order remove all Vitality from the allied unit, boost off by the same amount. Very good, very very good. I think this is decent. Just probably should have mentioned, but all of these kind of new Scoia'tael cards are functionally going to work with Nature's Gift in like a Symbiosis kind of deck, like using Nature, Vitality, that kind of thing. I think this is pretty good. You know, it's a borderline must answer card because Symbiosis triggers, you're going to trigger this realistically maybe 5 times around, maybe more, in a Nature's Gift deck. So this is resulting in, let's say, 10 points of Vitality, and not to mention, because Vitality is going to start stacking up, and you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm never going to get the value. I've got like 8 Vitality on something. You just remove the Vitality, boost itself. So it's an engine that can defend itself, which is always a great thing. An engine that has some form of protection, typically a good thing. So I honestly think this is like a 4-star. I think this is just like an auto include in Nature's Gift, just an auto include. Don't know where it would find its place in any other decks. I think this is like a Nature's Gift kind of card. And we have another Naiad. We have Naiad Pond Keeper. Something to mention about the Naiads, it's never their primary tag, so this doesn't help Scoia'tael. Doesn't help Harmony. So these aren't gonna, just bump up Harmony because they have Dryad as their primary tag. This doesn't add like another tag to the pool for Harmony decks, which I like. It's bulking out an archetype without bumping up an archetype that's already good. So it has sort of a choice between your deploys. So you can choose a Wandering Tryon and damage an enemy unit by its power, then reset the Tryon, which is pretty nice. If you're getting a fair bit of Symbiosis down, and you've got a Tryon up to, I don't know, let's say you get one up to 6, let's say you get 6, you can deal 6, nice bit of removal. That's something that they can kind of find problems with in Nature's Gift. Having that removal, you basically only have Nature's Rebuke. Or you can play it on the ranged and give a non-symbiosis its symbiosis. Very good. Just give you more payoff on your nature cards. So, I think this is pretty good. I think this is very good. You can. I do like cards that have sort of multi uses. So this can kind of be to give you more ramp up in effect in matchups where you're not looking to move too much stuff, or you really need to start getting some value from symbiosis, or if you need that damage, you can pick your Treants. And not to mention, those Treants can be boosted by, things like Dryad's Caress. You can throw in just Gift onto it. Even just like a Tempering. Put a Tempering onto it's a 3 power. One, there's your 8 damage. 5 that deals 8. Obviously, the Treant gets reset, but it's always going to be reset for 1. It's going to end up as 1 power. So in effect, you're going to deal 8 and lose 7. So you still end up at in profit, I guess, is the best way I can explain it. So I do really like this card. If I compare it to Fledgling, I'm not going to give this a 3. Not because I think it's bad. I just think that compare it to Fledgling, I think there's other cards that are slightly better. So I think 3. I think it's good. I just don't think it's insane broken. So then we have Frog Mating Season. There's a load going on here. So this is you choose 2 allied units, give them Vitality 4, and spawn a frog on each side of the chosen unit. So you're going to end up spawning 4 frogs. So you'll have a frog on each side of the. So this is already going to give basically 8 points left of Vitality, and it's going to trigger Symbiosis card. Now what the frogs do, at the end of the turn, you trigger Vitality and order move self to the other row. I don't think the order's that important. So triggering Vitality at the end of the turn on adjacent units, very, very good. This is speed up Vitality. So again, this is kind of playing into that kind of thing of the problem you can have with Vitality is you can get so much where you just don't have the time for all of those ticks to go on. So being able to speed them up is pretty good. And especially when you consider Frog Mating Season is going to give 4 Vitality. You're going to have frogs on either side. You're then going to get the one natural Vitality tick, and the frogs are then going to do 2 more. So you get 6 points instantly. It's going to boost them by 3, give them Vitality 1, basically, and spawn 2 1 power units. So in effect, this is playing for 6 with 1 Vitality, so 8, and then 2 sets of 1, so 12. 12 for 9. As well as the Symbiosis proc. Not even including the Symbiosis proc, it's 12 for 9. My only concern with this card is you're spawning 4 1 power units. And Symbiosis can already have that problem of just of space, because you want to get your units down, but also you're spawning Wandering Treants, and very quickly your board can get very, very full. That is my main concern with a card like this. When your deck is very long round and board heavy, you don't really want 1 power units. Again, this is one I'm going to give 3, just because I think there is definitely that threat of overstacking the board a little bit and ending up with just too much stuff you don't want there. But I do think it's very, very good. I think this is very good if you can play into the different rounds and sort of do 3 mid-length rounds rather than go for a long round. But the problem is the payoff for Nature's Gift is going into a long round, so it kind of goes a little bit counterintuitively. I don't think it's a bad card though by any means. I think it's good. I just think it has that risk factor, at least for me. Scares me a little bit. And then for our legendary, we have Gwent, which probably butchered. So this is 5 for 13. as Symbiosis, and deploy infuse all your naiads with the nature category wherever they are. And whenever you spawn a wandering Treant, give it vitality equal to the number of dryads you control. This is kind of mad, to be honest. Because like infusing with the nature category, that means that like playing your naiads is going to trigger Symbiosis. So it just gives passive points on top. It basically means that all of your fledglings, all of your pond keepers are just going to be playing for points. They're going to boost themselves up, and not only that, they're going to spawn out some Treants as well. And whenever you spawn a wandering Treant, give it vitality equal to Dryad you control. Is already very good. You know, you're stacking Dryads in this kind of deck. You're running, I think, Verve, Hammer Dryads, you're going to run Ethne, that kind of thing. So, you know, even if they get like 2 Vitality, that's just adding on an extra couple of points. I'm assuming that this is only when she's on the board. But I'm a bit stumped on when you play this card, you know? Like the value this is going to come from is playing this sooner rather than later. So it's really going to incentivize you not to play your naiads, but I guess you want to play your naiads sooner rather than later because they operate like engines. I mean, I'm going to give this like a 4 star because I think there's a lot of value to be had here, huge amount of value. Even just giving the naiads the nature category, if you kind of compare this to something like Bran, for example, where you're just getting that extra value on top, I think there's definite power in this card. And of course, it has Symbiosis as well, and giving vitality is very good. I'm curious if Deploy makes herself a nature card, and therefore when you play her will trigger Symbiosis or not. I don't think that's make or break for me. You know, if it is, then she basically plays as 5, gonna spawn a 2 in Nature's Gift because you'll have the 2 Symbiosis herself and your leader, and because of her other ability, giving it Vitality, means it's gonna get 1 Vitality just from her, so she's playing for like 8 points of temper. If that's how it works, that is. If not, she's playing for 5 points of temper, not as good. So yeah, I think 4-star the most I can give her here. Just because I think it's good, but I think it has a lot of, again, like small miracles have to happen, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think 4 stars fair. But I mean, I can't wait to try out Nature's Gift when these new cards drop, because I do think they add a little bit of something to a deck that kind of needed that, just a little push, just a little something to pop it up. I really like this. Really like this. This is kind of the one I've been most excited for. Is the Syndicate changes. Syndicate new cards rather. So, I mean, if you've been watching my videos, you know I have a soft spot for Collusion. It's a deck that I've tried out in multiple different iterations. I absolutely love playing it because it kind of feels like Exodia if you've ever played like Yu-Gi-Oh. Whereas once you've got everything set up, you kind of have that huge payoff kind of thing. Once you've got all your board in effect, and these cards kind of reflect that. They're kind of built around that, having gangs, collusion kind of thing. So the first card is Pull the Strings, and this one takes a minute to wrap your head around. So it's like profit 0, season enemy with 0 power. The profit increases for each gang category in your starting deck, and you increase the power and decrease the profit for each gang category on the board. So if you have, so there's 6 gangs, there's Firesworn, Blind Eyes, Cut Ups, Crown Splitters, Salamandra, Tide Cloaks. They're the 6 gangs. amazing that I remember this off the top of my head. I always forget one. So if you get all 6 down, which you're looking to do for what these cards are doing, then this is a C6, so this is a 5 for 12. Very, very good. If you have no cards on the board, or like nothing with tag, then this is a Profit 6. So that's kind of how it works for each, because you're not going to play this unless you have all 6 gangs in your deck. So this is either, as the Profit goes down by 1, the C's goes up by 1, as you play more gangs on the board. And I mean, I'm probably, at least from what I've seen, what people think about this, probably going to be maybe an unpopular one, but I'm not a huge fan of this. I think this is way too circumstantial, and this is coming from somebody, like, a lot of these views on collusion will come from my experience of playing collusion and how the deck feels and what you kind of trying to do. People have said this is like muzzle for 5 because like a C's for 6 and you'd overlock it. However, I don't really see it like that, because when you're playing collusion, functionally your first 5 turns are setting up units. Or if you're playing, I mean, I personally think the way you should be using it is playing Pirate's Curve, so you can get your Tide Clerk from there, and then you play your Berker to tutor out your collusion, so you only need to get 3 of the gangs down. However, this still takes some setup. You know, your opponent removes one, you then have to spend a turn redeveloping. And by that point, you don't have much time for like the payoff cards. And not to mention, I don't think this is a card you want to be running. I think it just doesn't play that great into what you're doing. Not to mention, you also end up with some board space issues because of the Fire Sworn aspect. Because the Fire Sworn, if you have all the tags, it's going to spawn 3 Zealots. You're going to have like 5 units down because of developing different gangs. There's already 8 spots on your board taken up. I honestly don't love this card. I'm actually going to give this 2 stars. And I know this is probably going to be my most unpopular of all these. I know people like to look at this card, but I really do think that it's to win more, if that kind of makes sense. You don't need this. This really isn't doing much for the deck. Although it looks like it's very good, I don't think it's doing much for the deck. So yeah, we'll move on from that unpopular opinion onto a card which I will agree with the general consensus. Little Bird, very good card. So deploy is she infuses herself with a gang category of a unit in your deck. Now, I'm assuming this is like a random effect, similar to how Chameleon works, where you don't pick the category, it just picks one. So that on its own is kind of like fair enough. You know, you get a free gang tag. That's pretty good already. But it's the fee that is insane, absolutely insane. Her order, boost an allied unit by 1 for each unique gang category you control is stupidly good, absolutely stupidly good. Now you literally only need to get down once you've got 3 gangs down, which is not difficult. If you play this and a Bloody Good Friends, you have 3 gang tags, you have cut ups, ground splitters, and whatever Little Bird picks. And now it's spend 2 coins for 3 points. So it's, I mean, I know it's boost, so it's not the same value as damage, and I know it has a cooldown, so you can, but that's the value you're getting from Tunnel Drill. Once you're at the point where you have all of your gangs down, which is what the deck's going to look to do, this is then going to be spend 2 coins to boost by 6. You're getting 3 points for every coin, which makes it the best spender in the game by a wide margin. This is like a remove or lose card. This is a 5-star card. Like, this is exactly what Collusion needs. Something on top of Collusion that was a massive payoff for getting those different gangs down. So this is absolutely nuts, quite simply. This card is absolutely borderline broken. I mean, you could make this fee like 3 or even 4 coins, and I'd probably still say it's very good. But fee 2, this is kind of nuts, to be honest. Absolutely nuts. So yeah, and not to mention boosting up, having access to a really good boost engine in a deck that's looking to protect its cards until you get that gang payoff is also a very good thing. Even if there's cards we use that are like 1 for 1 on like the coin thing, and we're pretty happy with. So you only need realistically, you know, this and another card, and it's already playing. It's a coin for a point spender, and you're not over the moon about it, but it works. And yeah, this is nuts. This card's nuts. Like auto include, arguably in like other syndicate decks are gonna be happy with this card. Um, Even like aligned pockets, Salamandra, even blind eyes. Um, yeah, it's just very, very good. Very, very good card. So now we go on to Bart, who is whenever you play a unit with a gang category you don't control, you gain a coin for a unique category you control. So this is also very, very good. In effect, if you play this and then you play your first gang, and then your second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth, then you're going to get 1 coin and then 2 coins and then 3 and then 4 and then 5 and then 6. Not to mention, if your opponent removes one of those cards, then you can sort of play it now as like a category you don't control kind of thing. I honestly like this. I think this is 4-star, mainly because it's not as good as Little Bird, quite simply. But 6 power, 4 armor, for 8, it's already huge. This is a very hard to remove card. This is like hard removal is the only thing that's going to deal with it. This isn't something you can just ping down. Or like you're boiling oil it and you say goodbye to it and you're happy. This is like a huge amount of point investment to remove 10 points. And the coin payoff is very, very good. Realistically, you're going to be looking to get all 6 gangs down. So that means 1 plus 2 plus 5 plus 6, 21 coins. 21 coins from an engine. Very good. So like I said, 4 stars. This is like pushing 5-star. I think just because it needs to stay alive the whole time, and not get locked and that kind of thing. Makes it a lot more vulnerable. But yeah, I think this is very, 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 very good card. Goes straight in any collusion deck. Then finally we have Siggy Reuben Mastermind. So he has deploy, look at collusion, and a random card from each gang from your deck, and then play 1. And his tribute 9 is play 2 instead. The tribute costs 2 less for each gang category you control. So what you can kind of do here is this is either a tutor for collusion, or it's a tutor for a gang, or you can pay to play both. Now, if you were wanting to play this for collusion, you'd want to do it at the point where you have 4 of the other gangs down. So you would then have the tribute would be 1 coin. You'd be able to play whichever gang you were missing, and then have your collusion come out as well, which is very, very good. In effect, works as a tutor for that last gang you're missing. Say your hand was just missing it. You were missing a blind eyes, for example. Siggy pulls out that blind eyes and plays your collusion. However, obviously going to be a little downer on this one. It's very expensive. 12 provisions is a lot. He plays as 4, and he doesn't have a gang category. Now, realistically, with collusion, most of the time you're just going Furka. Going Furka because he's a crown splitter. He has a gang category, and he can play collusion. What you could do is you play Alyssa. You can do Furka, then you Alyssa, and then you go Siggy. But I don't know if he's necessary. I'm gonna give this like 3 stars because I don't think it's bad by any means. I just don't know how necessary it is. Arguably, I don't think you need it. I really don't think you need it in the deck. What Collusion was missing was payoff cards, and they really have got it in the form of Little Bird and Bart. However, what it wasn't lacking was like a consistency tool, which Siggy functionally is a consistency tool, and the deck didn't really suffer from consistency issues. At least when from the many iterations of it I've played, I never felt like consistency was an issue. So that's kind of where I'm sitting with it. Is I think it's hard, but I don't think it's necessary. So, like I said, I think it's 3 stars. But again, this is one where I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong, but I do 3 stars on there. Now for Skellige, I can probably see from the look on my face, very happy about these. I do love Warriors. Warriors have always got a little place in my heart. I love a bit of Skellige, and these cards. Very happy with these cards. So we'll start with Brockval Warrior, which is 2 power for 4 provisions, damage an enemy unit by 3, it targets damage, repeat deploy with a different target, decrease the damage by 1. And you'll probably recognise this kind of ability, it's basically fallible, which really shows how far power creep's gone when the 4 provision unit that has a deploy that's easier to do than Fallibles, because Fallibles was like death blow, so you had to have a 3 power and a 2 power unit set up on the board. This just needs to damage something. If you deal 3 damage to something, 99 times out of 100, it's going to be a damaged unit by the end of it. And then 2 damage, less likely, but still probably going to happen. And then you get your 1 top. And not to mention, Skellige benefits from damage units. So you can functionally set up to like 3 damaged units with 1 card. An 8 for 4. Ambitiously, at worst, at 5 for 4. Good. I mean, I'm kind of torn because I think what do you put for this? Maybe it's Ancrate Warriors that obviously bye bye. My main concern is like this could get a little clumsy. Like the deck is already can get a little clumsy with your order, like looking at your hand and not really that kind of thing. But you'll kind of see with some of the other cards coming up, definite value to be had from this card. So I mean, I'm tentatively going to give this 4 stars. I mean, it's maybe 3. Yeah, I think 3. No, I'm canceling myself out. That it's 3 stars. If I'm considering which card you cut for this, it doesn't mean that it's an automatic include. So I think it's 3 stars. So then we have Feral Bond. So this is you spawn a Skellige Wolf. Spawn Skellige Wolves on enemy rare, damage it by 1. Then create a Bronze Skellige Warrior. Bloodthirst 3, you may spawn and play any Bronze Skellige Warrior. Now this is like really interesting. So this is like spawn and play any. Basically works much like how Compass does, where you'll see all of your possible options. It's not like Create, where you're just going to see the 3. Spawning the wolves and damage on that 1. So the wolf is 2 power, Death Wish, spawn a copy of yourself on the opposite row. It's basically a 1 that if you kill it, you'll spawn 2. So, not terrible. And I mean, it's definitely interesting. Definitely an interesting. Arguably, I do really like this, to be fair, because like the Bloodthirst 3, assuming how it should work, I think in my mind how it should work is the one you spawn counts. Then you create your Bronze Skellige Warrior. You get to pick if you've got like 2 units damaged, and then that 3rd one comes wolf. I think this is another like 3 star because this is one where it's like, again, super tight on provisions. Why are you running this and not something else? One thing I would keep in mind, because it's a raid, then with the whole boosting up your damage of your raids, logically this is going to deal 2, provided you've gotten boosted up. If you go for Island what's his name? Highland Raider, I think. Can't even remember. The one that increases the power of your raids means that it's just going to kill the wolf. So functionally, it's just going to spawn the wolf on your side, and you create a bronze Skellige warrior. Obviously, there's value here. There's very few bronze warriors that are bad. Top of my head, I can't really think of any where I'd be like super sad about it in a create situation. You could get like Ancrate Raiders, potential for more Highland Warlords. Actually, just remember the name, it's Highland Warlord, isn't it? I'll actually change my mind on this as I'm thinking about it. This has the potential to create another Highland Warlord. Alright, let's give this 4 stars. Yeah, this is 4 stars. This is actually a 4-star card. Very, very good. I think. Maybe. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. Especially if you can get Bloodthirst, you guarantee another Highland Warlord. I'm not sure. Not sure. 3 or 4 stars. Can't decide. It's one of them. I don't really know. Alula. Move on to this. So she has order damage unit by 2 whenever an enemy uses damage from your warriors, damage it by 1, ignoring its armor. I honestly don't know how I feel about this. This just reminds me of Olga, but for warriors. And said with the other two, what are you cutting for this? I think this doesn't fit in. Because although you think, well, you're dealing a ton of damage when you play warriors, if you actually think about it, a lot of the damage is coming from raids. The actual damage from your units is basically coming from like iced, and I mean you don't need to damage another unit. Wait, no, that's not. No, the damage isn't coming from iced. It's coming from your leader. So not even iced. It's basically Shordal. Harold, if you can get it down, this basically doubles up with Harold. Oh, it. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of this. On the surface, it looks like it's very good. But I just don't think it has a place in Warriors. I think it's not good enough to fit in. So this is a 2-star, unfortunately for me. I really don't think it deserves its place in the deck, in effect. But now we move on to the card, which, oh, when I saw this, I was over the moon. My head was spinning trying to think about to use it. So we have Serve. Hopefully it's pronounced Serve. Serve. One of them. He's immune, and his order is you summon a beast from your deck to the opposite row, infuse it with Death Wish, boost Serve by twice its own base power, and then damage it for 1 by each damaged enemy unit. So, I mean, to start off, this is 5 stars. Let's just say it's a 5-star card. This card's amazing. But in my mind, I think there are several ways you could do this. I think there's the very like gimmicky meme kind of way where you could play something like Dire Bear, or you could play Olaf or something like that. But I think the way you would use this in sort of the most competitive way would be you get her out the deck. Don't even need her. Iced Blaze of Glory for serve. Dealing 11 or dealing 12. Most of the time you're overkilling with Blaze of Glory anyway, so you're not really going to miss it. You can just float the order because he's immune. You know what's going to happen to him. It's not like he's locked. And then you just pull like a Havru, for example. I think Havru is probably the best way to go. Havru comes out as a 6, and then you play something like Shordal, War of Clans, kill that, boost serve up to a immune 23 power unit, which is just stupid. Especially like I think this is 5-star for like so many reasons. So first, he just naturally is very good. An immune tall unit is always very good. It's uninteractable. Only very niche things like Igni are going to deal with this. Or like Tempest to remove it, and then you can do it. So there's like a handful of things that can actually deal with this. And one of the problems warriors have is you don't go tall. Like, your tallest units are going to be like raiders or something for like 8. Um, and except from, yeah, you'd play a 12 power unit, so all of a sudden your opponent gets value on something like a heat wave. Um, Now, this is an unheat waveable card. Already insane. Um, Also, when you're playing against warriors, you can get value from going unitless. Don't really give them amazing options or like removal and things like that, because obviously you run a ton of damage cards without units on the board. Gonna struggle. Um, this counteracts that by setting up a target. If you set up and knock it down, you just hold the order until the turn you're going to play your way to remove it. There's no reason to play it and just let it float on the board. Give your opponent a chance to defend, anything like that. You hold this until the turn you can kill it. I think the damage for each damage unit is obviously very nice. It can make its kill. May even, if the board is very damaged, just outright kill it in one. But I don't think that's something you even need to rely on. You don't need to rely on a 6 getting dropped down to like 4, so you can just about remove it. Dealing 6 is nothing to Skellige. Skellige Warriors, you can play Shordell. Just play Shordell and bang, it's gone. Yeah, I am absolutely in love with this card. And 5. I give it 6 stars. I give it 10 stars. Amazing card. Like, arguably my favourite card from the set so far. So yeah, Warriors looking like very, very dirty. Very, very dirty. Just this card alone completely changes the whole dynamic of Warriors. So as I say, I think deck building wise, you drop Yuta, you put this in, and then you have Ruse at 4. And not to mention, this is also thinning. Thins a card. I've personally, for Warriors, I've been playing the version with this and the discard package. So having another way to thin out, so you can get down below that 3 card sort of situation. So your compass will get you to create cards. Just amazing. I can't wait to try this. This is like the deck I will be picking up the second the patch drops. I will be trying out Warriors because this looks absolute. So finally, we come to monsters. Now you may notice it's a bit darker, because I recorded all the others when all the cards were out and was just waiting for the others to get revealed during the open. But we finally have them now. So first we have Anel Slave Trader. So he gains vitality equal to the total duration of frost on the opponent's side of the battlefield, and infuse an enemy unit with, at the end of the turn, if it has a power higher than its own, set its power to 1, then lock itself. And I really don't know what to make of this card. You're going to be playing this in the Wild Hunt leader, in the White Frost leader, so you play this on an opposite row to where there's frost. It's going to come down as a 4, ticks up to 5. But in effect, this is at 4 or below. You can set to 1 and lock very easily. If not, there's going to be a timer. And I really don't know what to make of it. Really don't know what to make of it because it seems very, very conditional. Very awkward to get this to actually pay off. Maybe a little better in around 3, where you have your Oberon down, so it comes down as a 5, gets the 1 vitality, goes up to 6. But I mean, based on the other cards as well, there's no other cards that are reliably generating more frost. And at the moment, like, you don't have so much frost that you're gonna get insane value from this. So I'm leaning towards this not being amazing. I think I'm going to give this 2 stars. I'm really not too much of a fan of this, to be honest. Reason kind of being that it seems so situational for such a relatively minor payoff. It's not really an insane payoff, to be honest, especially it being at the end of your opponent's next turn. Gives them a chance to respond. If it was just at any point, if at any point Slave Trader has higher points than their unit, it sets it to one and locks itself. It would maybe be a little better because then, you know, they have, say, a 5-power engine, you play this in round 3, it goes up to 6 because of the vitality and your Auberon and it'll boost from being on the row. And then, you know, when that vitality ticks, oh, it's got higher power than that 5-power engine, set to one and lock itself. The fact that then it goes into your opponent's turn and they have the chance to damage Slave Trader, destroy Slave Trader, boost up their unit, just makes this seem a little unreliable in my eyes. Then we have Anel Aristocrat. So this has an Order of Dominance, move an enemy. Don't think this has a great deal. At the end of the turn, spawn Frost for 1 row on each enemy row to which Frost was applied this turn. So this basically acts as a generate more Frost engine, which is kind of weird. I don't know how much I love it because certainly from the other cards, I'm getting the impression that this is meant to be a massive Frost overload. You know, you're setting up as much Frost as possible. It doesn't matter if it's going to be wasted, you just want to get it all down. Like 1,000,000 turns of Frost on each row every single turn is what they're going for. Again, it's one where I just don't see this being that great. Spawning Frost for another turn means that, you know, realistically, say you play this and then you play Red Riders. This then puts down two extra turns of Frost, and ambitiously, let's evaluate Frost as like 2 points a turn. Then, you know, sure, this is like an 8 for 4 if it sticks for a turn. Obviously, this can get value if it sticks, but I don't know. I think inherently weather doesn't lend to a very strong archetype just because it is limited to that per turn, very set how it works, you know, damage the tallest unit. There's no damage a specific unit aspect to it. I mean, I'll give this a 3 because I don't think it's terrible. I think it's just one of those cards where, you know, it'll probably do its job, but don't see it being that great, I think is where I really sit with this one. And then we get onto the new card, which actually got revealed, like, at the time of recording, like 20 minutes ago. Paranthea Golden Child. So, at the start of your turn, while in hand or deck, reset earn power, boost self by the damage dealt by Frost in the last 5 turns. So, the idea of this is it's similar to, you know, something like a Regis or a God, where you're getting that big point slam as a doubled up payoff. The damage you can deal with Frost, the highest this can possibly be, is kind of ridiculous. This can be 31 points. If you have got his name? Wild Hunt Man, who spawns it on Birth Rose, and I really should remember because he's the leader of the Wild Hunt, but whatever. Completely gone from my head. And when you have dominance, you're going to deal 3 on each row. This could deal 6 every turn. Therefore, 5 turns of 6, 31. That's just not going to happen most of the time. I think more realistically, if you look at this as, okay, let's say you damage a unit by 2 every single turn, then this is an 11 for 8, and I would say that is you wouldn't be too happy about that if you were only dealing 2 damage with Frost turn. So, I mean, giving it like a tentative floor of like 11 in a Frost deck, means this is pretty good. I really do like the look of this, and I mean, honestly, I'm going to give this one 5 stars. Maybe a bit of an overestimate, but I think it doesn't need a lot to be just getting good value. You know, if you see it as, say, 3 turns, you manage to get a couple of rows damaged, then the others you just dealt 2 damage, then that's like 17 points, 17 for 8, that's pretty good. And I think this is pretty good, and not to mention, a lot of the cards are looking for dominance. You slam down a unit that big, you're going to get dominance. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with this card. We'll definitely take a little bit of testing to figure out when you want to play it. My view on this is you're not going to be using this like you would Regis, where this is a finisher. I think this is a massive tempo swing kind of card. You know, you play this during a or just when it's kind of maxed out its value. I guess I could be wrong. As a finisher, it's obviously nice, but you need to have been getting frost down consistently over the last few turns, and not to forget that every the start of the turn when your opponent gets their turn, unless they're kind of stupid and you've set up frost and then they play something into the frost, you're going to have dead turns, so you need a bit of a longer round for this to work. So yeah, I think it requires a bit of working around, getting it exactly right, but I think it's pretty good. Definitely goes in a frost deck without a shadow of a doubt. And then finally we have one, probably butcher the name, not 100% sure on the pronunciation, but it's Tiernelia. Tiernelia? Just going to call it Tier until someone corrects me and tells I'm stupid. So this is a location which you boost an allied unit by 0 and increase the value by the number of unique bronze wild hunt cards in your starting deck. Realistically, Conqueror, Aristocrat, Bruiser, Crew, Red Riders, Wild Hunt Riders, and 2 or 3 that I'm forgetting. So let's say you run 8 or 9, pretty decent. Just on a deploy reasonable tempo, get let's say 8. Let's just say for the sake of argument 8 points. Obviously could get that high, but let's say 8 points. And then the order, you spawn frost on your opponent's melee and range rows equal to the amount lost on the last turn, and then spawn Red Riders, which Red Riders is the one where you either 2 turns of frost on each row, 4 turns of frost on one row, or 2 turns of frost and play a bronze Wild Hunt card. And I mean, Red Riders is already a decent card. It's like an auto include in frost decks. Now, I think the way this card should be used, and I think the way it makes sense to use it, is you want a round where you're going to pile on frost like it's nobody's business. You're going to set up a huge amount of frost. Your Winter Queen is going to come out, and you're going to get a nice tempo pass at some point, so that she's going to boost up to however much. Let's say you get like 6 turns of frost sitting about. Maybe you just want to stack one row so you get that massive carryover. You then play Ternalia, and you almost double up on that value because that frost carries through. In effect, the frost isn't lost. The other benefit is because it has resilience, you can kind of play it down on that turn and play the land, see how you're sitting. How good it is. My concern is, like I say, what I mentioned sets up for a really weird dynamic, a really, really weird dynamic. So you're going to get the most value out of this in, let's say, round 1, you pile on the frost, absolutely pile on the frost, and then you have your Winter Queen come out. Now, if you want to get that carryover on Enalia, you want to be passing sooner rather than later. You don't want that frost to be ticking away this turn, you want it carried over. So that's probably going to be a tempo pass. But then this card is going to lead perfectly to bleeding. So you want to also win the round, but you also want to pass early. And I think that alone makes this really weird, because let's say you do that, and say you get like 6 or 7 rounds of frost to carry over, great. But then your opponent's won the round and they just dry pass on you. Then Tenali has not done anything. Because then, let's say you play it going into round 3, you've had a dry pass round. There's no frost played in that round. The order doesn't do anything. I think it plays for like a very niche situation that very rarely is going to work out, which is a tempo pass and you win the round. So really don't rate this card too much. The deploy is very good. I like the deploy. It's unfortunately, I think the order is I mean, honestly, you could, if you had the order as Spawn Frost for every turn where Frost didn't deal damage. So say it's been on a dead row, range row, there was nothing on the range row, and you've had 2 turns of Frost ticked, then the order would spawn 2 turns of Frost on the range row. I think would make this better. Quite simply, I think this will make this better. Honestly, in its current state, I see this as a 2-star card. I think you put a Wild Hunt deck. I could be wrong. I will probably be wrong, but that is just how I felt looking at it when I properly processed like how you would use this. I just don't think this. And that is us done. So we've got 24 new cards, 4 for each faction. There will be a 6 faction, 6 decks video coming up on Tuesday when the new set drops, because I already have 1,000,001 ideas for decks I will be playing. I've managed to, short of a massive push from people, I'm going to be top 500 this season. So we're just going to be going right in day 1 of the patch against like some of the best players in the world, playing some of the worst piles I can think of, and it's going to be painful. Maybe we stream some of that. Maybe we make some videos of it. It'll all be fun. If you've stuck around this long, you're an absolute trooper, because I've been recording for ages. This could be a very long video, but I didn't want to rush through. And I guess if you care about a specific card, you can skip to that section. It's all time-stamped and everything. So, hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next one.